Moto.
How's it going, y'all? Rowdy Riles back with another video. So if you're a 90s kid, you just grew up different. If you know, you know. If you were born from anywhere from 1990 to 1995, you got a nice taste of what the 90s were like, which was Saturday morning cartoons, lots of awesome action figures to match those cartoons, and just an overall sense of, hey, life could never be any worse than this, right? How wrong we were. But with all that being said, let's talk about two of my favorite 90s toy lines, Biker Mice from Mars and Street Sharks. So with all that being said, let's just get into it.
Join Ripster, Blaze, Jab, and Big Flamu, 4 heroes fighting to stop the evil Dr. Paranoid from taking over the world.
After the 80s, the craze of the Ninja Turtles was really in full swing, so the 90s came along and people really wanted to capitalize on the anthropomorphic animal-human hybrid characters. So we got two lines. We got Biker Mice and we got Street Sharks. And both of these toy lines are very different, but also very much the same as Ninja Turtles. They were teens and they all have their special skill sets, like the Biker Mice are obviously Biker Mice and they're from Mars. And then the Street Sharks, obviously they're sharks, so they eat things and tear stuff up and fight bad guys. And that was the craze for the 90s. You know, we had X-Men, Spider-Man, but there was a very special niche where we had things like SWAT Cats and these other franchises that were just trying to really capitalize on Ninja Turtles, and some were really hit and some were really miss. And I would say that Biker Mice and Street Sharks were probably two of the most successful ones.
They fight, they bite, they kick some serious fin. Now blast into action with the new Shark Cruiser with monster-biting power and fin-action traction.
Eternal Piranha!
So Street Sharks was created by David Siegel and Joe Galliana as a direct response to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it premiered in 1994. And obviously we've got the four main characters here. We've got Ripster, Streaks, Slamu, and Jab, and they were the four main characters, and they were transformed, and they wanted to stop crime and stop him from mutating others, and that's pretty much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And obviously we got toys behind it, and that was the main draw of the show for kids was, oh, we're getting toys for this. And these were some of the original ones that they released. They were released by Mattel, and they're not super articulated, but they're known for having this feature. Well, that one doesn't, because that's a newer one, where that one doesn't either. Touch their fin and their mouth opens up, and this is a first release one, and they also all had an action feature. So Slamu obviously smashes things with his hand, and I do have video reviews of the newer Mattel figures, but we're talking about the retro stuff today. Because they did a 30th anniversary set. But I do have a couple of my old Street Sharks, which is awesome. At least I have the 4 original ones. And they did get into more. They did do more waves. They did introduce more sharks, like Moby Lick here, who's actually an orca. But his feature, he also had a hat, which is long gone. But his feature is his tongue, and he's also got a blowhole that you could squirt water out of, and his hat would shoot off. The show ran from 1994 to 97. It had about 40 episodes in total, and it was a product of the time. The 90s was meant for big, buff, humanoid, mutated characters or anthropomorphic characters, and Street Sharks just fit inside all of those boxes, and it was pretty successful, although not for very long. By the late 90s, all of this stuff kind of culminated in an oversaturated market with the same kind of niche, so they kind of just were like, all right, we're going to sunset this. It's not making us money. And like I said, only 40 episodes to the show. They discontinued the toy line and the show ended in 1997. So it only ran for a very short amount of time. But we did also get some villains. And the main one right here is his name Dr. Piranha. Is this the main bad guy they were talking about that transformed them? But he's got like a piranha face. And he's got a hook, and he had missiles that he would shoot out. And then this guy is like a lobster, and he's got a claw. And I'm missing one of his antenna, but other than that, like this could fit in with the new toy line. This would because I think they canceled it. I don't think they mentioned it, but they had showed like Moby Lick and some others at a Comic-Con, and then we never heard anything else. So I'm thinking the sales weren't there, and Mattel was just like, all right, well, Street Sharks is done again, and that's sad for me. But apparently there is a live action Netflix gritty reboot happening, and I will be happy to see that. But Street Sharks was very much a product of the 90s and the success of Ninja Turtles, and so was the next toy line.
Yeah! Cool! Throttle, Vinny, Moto, biker mice on battle bikes with the firepower to stop the evil Plutarchians. And now, make way for Throttle's Blazing Cycle with a blazing back wheel of power. Just pull the ripcord, and the Blazing Cycle goes the distance! Blaze on, bros.
Biker Mice from Mars is the next toy line that I'm talking about. Also from the 90s, also hot off the heels of TMNT, and it was about 3 mice from Mars, anthropomorphic humanoid mice from Mars, coming to Earth to defend it from the same thing that happened to their planet, which was a bunch of aliens mining it for resources and all that stuff. But the difference here is they're kind of rock and roll, and they got motorcycles, and it just adds a different layer, and they're not mutants, they're aliens. And the show premiered in 1993, and it was created by Rick Ungar, and they are freedom fighters. And they want to prevent, like I said, Earth from meeting the same fate as their planet. And it's about pretty much what the world is today, capitalist monsters just draining a place of resources, and everyone suffering for it. So we had 3 main characters, Throttle, Vinny, and Moto, and I used to have the bikes, I used to have play sets, I used to have more villains, but my grandma made me get rid of a lot of my childhood stuff at one point. But I still do have these guys, fortunately. And they all have removable helmets, which is cool. And I did, at one point, fix up the paint on these guys because they were kind of scuffed and all that stuff. But they all had accessories and features, and they all had a bike that had features as well. But their antennas, you push them down so their helmets go on like so. And we have gotten a new toy line by Nacelle, who did the bikes, did the mice. They're working on wave 2 and 3 right now. So we are getting more of that, and it's really cool. And the series aired from 1993 to 1996, had 65 episodes, a little bit more than Street Sharks, and it was very popular internationally. But 1996, it kind of died off, and they canceled it. And then they did have a reboot, which a lot of the stuff that's not TMNT didn't really get a reboot, but in the mid-2000s, we did get a new Biker Mice show, short-lived as well. And you know, just like Street Sharks, the fad of TMNT, which never died off, kind of just wasn't the hot ticket anymore. By the late 90s and early 2000s, it was just on to different things, and we had different types of animation, like anime and stuff popping up, so it just drew away from Biker Mice. But both of these series, Biker Mice and Street Sharks, are very important to a lot of people's childhood, and without TMNT, without the 90s boom of cartoon to toys, we wouldn't have gotten this. And you can see they scale together, so why not mash them up? Why not have these guys fighting your Playmates turtles or whatever? You know, that's the thing that we had back in the day. We had imagination. Yes, they were kind of offshoots of Ninja Turtles, but they all had their own spin, their own edge to them, and it really led to having a much different childhood than we have nowadays. Yes, we have franchises, but we don't have that thing that people sit around and wait for every week on the TV, waiting for the next episode, and then getting a toy to show it off the next week. You know, that was the 90s. You'd go to Toys R Us, you'd go to KB Toys, and you'd be like, oh, I just saw that last week, and look, it's here. I saw the commercial. And I kind of miss that. Now it's just pre-order, pre-order, pre-order. All this is coming, pre-order, pre-order. Maybe find it in store if you're lucky. Just a different time, like I said. Gosh, I miss the 90s.
Reptiles destroying the city! Not if I can help it! Shark attack! Shark attack! Freak flies in action on his new motorcycle skate!
So yeah, I hope this little deep dive into these two toy lines was informative, fun, and all that stuff. Like this video, go ahead and smash like, hit subscribe if you're new here, become a channel member for 99 cents if you want to support the channel. Comment, let me know what you collected, when your childhood was it 2000s, 90s, 80s, what were you exposed to as a child in the form of action figures and cartoons? What was your mainstay? Let me know how your day is going. Do all that stuff. Check out the subreddit r/figure fanatics. Keep your head up, stay brave, be kind to your local LGBTQ plus community. If you're protesting, be extra super duper safe. I love y'all. I will see you next time, and bye-bye. Jossa!
I've got something here with such fantastic detail it's gonna blow you away. Head shark!
Return to
Walmart end cap.
Ah, Morty, you're still watching this crap, isn't this? Review figures and toys and stuff. Aren't you a little old for toys? Ah, geez, Rick. You know, I don't think you should call her a bitch, and I kind of like her videos. So maybe you should shut the up. Q, Morty. Q.